Welcome into this new five-star reveal show. I'm Colin Kennedy, joined by my guys, Cooper Petagna, Chris Singletary, national recruiting analyst for us here at 247 Sports. Getting ready to break down the guys who have climbed into five-star range in the updated top 247 player rankings. Now, handsome as these guys are, they've got a lot of knowledge on this situation. So I want to break these guys down. And where do I want to start? I hear the Oklahoma Sooners have a rising star at the quarterback position within this class, Coop.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold coming off of an Elite 11 MVP out in Los Angeles and one of the best arms out there in California. He's been impressive for a guy playing elite level competition at Denton Guyer in the state of Texas. 14-2 last season, completed over 66% of his passes, almost 4,000 yards through the air, another 600 plus on the ground and 12 touchdowns. And he had a TD to INT ratio of 34-5. But enough with the stats. This dude is a winner. This is why I like him. Competitive edge, came out strong and slinging the ball around at the Elite 11, and it married up with the tape. And when you see guys like this to go out and see him in a competitive setting like we saw the Elite 11, for him to turn on the performance that he did, really not a lot of questions in terms of Jackson Arnold's physical upside, and we're super excited to see him in his senior season at Denton Guyer.
Jackson Arnold was a guy that had tremendous week during the Elite 11, a guy that showed the anticipation, great release, excellent mechanics. He was the guy that showed that he was comfortable rolling left or right in the pocket, really did a nice job of always getting his body position and being able to throw some darts. Also really liked his ball placement. He did an excellent job on his deep routes, whether it was the inside fade, whether it was the rail route. He showed that he could also not only show with some zing on the ball, but he also place it in a tremendous opportunity. And more importantly, he did a nice job when they went to the 7-on-7 setting. And it was kind of new for those guys. They didn't have their receivers that they normally play with. They would look going off a card, but he constantly made sure that he threw guys open. And so from that standpoint, you also get a guy that you understand knows how to throw from a standpoint of anticipation, understanding where guys are from a coverage standpoint, and being able to make sure guys are able to get open, throw them open, and then allow them to have the opportunity to get yak after the catch. And then from a physical development standpoint, he's plug and play. He's ready to walk in there. Very sturdy built, muscular lower body. He's a guy that I feel once he gets to Oklahoma and be able to get in that offense that Coach Venables and Coach Levy's have, I think they'll be excited to have him in Norman.
All right, so Chris, you were at the event, but Coop, I also know you wanted to clear this up. What role did the Elite 11 have in Jackson Arnold becoming a five-star in the new top 247?
Well, I think it played a big role. We knew this guy was a winner. We talked about it. I just mentioned 14-2 in a state championship appearance against Austin Westlake last year in the state of Texas. So we liked what we saw on the tape. I think the biggest question maybe going into the Elite 11 finals for Jackson Arnold was how much physical upside was there. Obviously, he took home the Elite 11 MVP, and I think he wowed. Chris Singletary was there. Steve Wilfong was there. He put on a performance. And as Chris mentioned, I think this is a guy that can have a day one impact at Oklahoma in Norman and Jeff Lebby's system. I think he's going to be ready to cook early. So factoring all that in, listen, he's got a lot of runway here. He is now a newly minted five-star. I know the conversation is going to come up. Can he make a play for the number one spot? If there is one player to gain out of the top 15 five-stars now in the top 24/7, it's going to be Jackson Arnold with another year playing against some of the best competition in Texas. I think this is a guy that can make a serious run for the number one spot.
We're going in alphabetical order, which brings us now to a USC commitment at the wide receiver spot who was just a freakish playmaker, Coop.
Yeah, Zachariah Branch, so much to like. And you talk about track and field backgrounds. We're going to talk about some other players who have absolutely lit it up in that category. But Zachariah Branch, he is lightning in a bottle, and that's what you're looking for. You think about him and Lincoln Riley's offense at USC in Los Angeles. There's going to be a lot of fireworks there, but a guy who is a sub 10-3 100 meter. He's got a brother who's also kind of in the same category already at USC, and Zion Branch is going to play safety there. But you can move him around. You can do a lot of different things. He's an explosive player, and if you're small, you got to be special. So the names that kind of come up in terms of pro comparisons, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and that's kind of what we expect from Zachariah Branch at the next level.
I think when you look at Zachariah Branch and had the opportunity to see him live in person, the first thing that stood out is maybe he's small in height, but he's not a small built guy. He's a guy that has some thickness to him, great muscle mass for a guy his size, and he's electric with the ball in his hands. tremendous change of direction, not only with top end speed, but also with excellent quickness. He's a true playmaker. He's a threat whenever he touches the ball. I'm talking about a guy that was able to line up outside at the wide position and also be able to get up and make 50-50 catches. Then he goes in the slot and he gave guys from the linebacker spot and the safety position fits trying to cover him in a short area. And then he was able to also to show that he could hit the home run. I think when you look at Zachariah Branch and what he brings to the table from a skill set standpoint, it's hard to deny his ability. You know, he's strong enough to break arm tackles. He's fast enough to pop the top. He has the quickness to get in the short area and really take it the distance from there. So from the standpoint of when you see Zachariah Branch, he checks all phases. And again, I think when he goes down there to USC, playing in that offense with Lincoln Riley, you know, the things that they've done in the past with guys that could play in this position, but now getting him, I think it's going to be even more dynamic in terms of his production for them.
So let's stay with the wide receiver position because I hear Oregon has a really good commitment out of the state of California. What made this guy a new 5-star?
How about the Oregon Ducks and Dan Lanning, also called the Danimal? I love the Danimal. He's done a hell of a job on the recruiting trail, and Juron Dickey can do it all. A 3-phase player. We talk about box check players and the guys that continue to check boxes. That's what Juron Dickey is. You can line him up at receiver. You can line him up at safety. Shoot, he'll even return kicks and punts as well. That's what he is, Mr. Reliable in all 3 phases of the game. But he is a physical, imposing receiver, 6'3", 210 pounds plus. He's a sub-4'6" guy, but he is strong in terms of his physique as well. We saw that in Las Vegas at the overtime 7-on-70 event where he really wowed and was one of the best receivers in attendance. Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate, and a handful of other guys were also there as well. So when you look at Juron Dickey, the type of player that he is, there's not really a lot of questions in terms of what he can be at the next level. We're already seeing that now. So that is a heck of a get for the Oregon Ducks on the recruiting trail.
I love Juron Dickey, having an opportunity to see him live at the overtime 7-on-7 event. He was a guy that played with a team that, again, like Cooper touched on, that had tremendous talent. You know, his quarterback was Jaden Rashada. You know, so he had some elite receivers that were already on this team. And the first time seeing him in person is the thing that immediately stuck out was his physical presence. Like he said, 6'3", 210. Then you watch the guy play. I mean, from the smash routes to the short intermediate routes. Once he got the ball, he was able to hit top speed immediately and be able to accelerate and get big time yak. With a 37-inch vertical, he was always competing and winning on the 50-50 balls. And then you just saw a guy that had a tremendous will to win. The unique thing about him, you know, I think Coach touched on 3-phase player. Now he's going to go somewhere where he's going to be able to just focus on playing wide receiver, learning the tricks of the trade, the nuances of the position, and being able to really focus on that and really take that part of his game to the next level. I'm really excited of what they're going to have with him up in Eugene.
A lot of West Coast talk, obviously a lot of talent out there, but I want to head southeast because, Coop, I hear there's a pretty darn good defensive back in the state of Georgia who is now a 5-star.
Caleb Downs. If you don't know his name, remember it now. But this is a guy, he's either going to play his football at Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, or Notre Dame. And all 3 or 4 of those programs are coveting him because he can do just about a little bit of everything. So we talk about that star position that I think Nick Saban, Kirby Smart are super familiar with. That's a guy in the defensive secondary that they like to move around, a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. That's what you get with Caleb Downs. He is a football player. We throw around that label a lot, but that's exactly what he is. He has earned that. You can put him in the deep hash. He's got a ton of range there. You can also put him as a slot nickel defender, and he fits in well as there. Hard nose and run support, very physical at the point of attack, always around the football. A lot to like with Caleb Downs.
You're talking about a guy that was born probably with a football in his crib, with his dad, Gary Downs, his brother, Josh. So football is in his DNA. He has tremendous football intelligence. You're talking about a guy that's able to be the quarterback in the back half and really line everybody up. He has no weaknesses to his game from the standpoint of being able to be where he needs to be. And the thing about him is, you could tell from the film study that he's a guy that understands anticipation. He's understanding pre-snap what the formation is and where the strength is. He understands the way he plays and the plays he makes and the ability that he's making them in terms of the pace, that he gets an idea of knowing where the weakness is of the defense, where the strength is, where he can cheat the game and where he can ultimately be a true playmaker. So that's one thing that constantly stood out when I watched Caleb Downs was he was always around the ball. And he wasn't just around it, he was affecting the play. And I think that's a huge asset when you're able to get a guy on the back half that can be a playmaker like him.
Let's head to the DMV because there is a freakish athlete who looks like he was built in a laboratory. Tell me a little bit about why this guy is now a 5-star in the new top 247.
Well, you said it, Colin. Somewhere at Area 51, there's a lot of people looking for Nicholas Harbor as he escaped the lab out there somewhere in Nevada. But Nicholas Harbor, that's exactly what he is. 6'5", 225 pounds, sub 10 300 meter. We just talked about Zachariah Branch at 5'8" and 180 pounds running that. And now we got a guy on the loose, 6'5", 225 pounds, but a two-way player. There's a little bit of a conversation. Which way is he going to lean at the next level in terms of what side of the football will he play? He's talked a little bit about offense. I love him on the defensive side of the football right now. He's still figuring it out. He had 17 sacks last season. So God really doesn't make many people like Nicholas Harbor with the physical talents that he has. I would love to see him play on the defensive side of the ball. He is a very unique and rare talent.
Well, Cooper, I hate to break it to you, but I think I saw an interview not too long ago. I think he wants to be a pass catcher. And it's funny, the last great pass catcher kind of with his makeup from an athleticism standpoint was Vernon Davis. But this the kicker. This guy's faster. You said it's sub 10.3. Let's go with this, 10.28. Let's talk about this, 20.79 at 6'5". You're talking about a guy with tremendous athleticism, with tremendous burst, a guy that has excellent quick twitch. He just now needs to continue to play football. But even in the short process of what we have from a film makeup, he's been a guy that has been at an elite level from a receiver standpoint, from a tight end standpoint, as a pass rusher. Put it this way, it does not matter what he wants to play. Every school that's in his final group wants Nicholas Harbor to be part of their program.
All right, gentlemen, quick story time. Once upon a time in the state of Texas, I co-hosted an O-line, D-line camp down here. And this guy, I had to limit his reps because he was literally bullying kids, and we could not let him put any others down anymore. Now, here he is as a 5-star. Tell me a little bit more about him.
That's our boy, DJ Hicks, 6'3", 280 pounds, Mr. Versatile. And we've talked a lot about versatility, but especially on the defensive front, that's where a lot of the value is driven. When you look at a guy like David Hicks, it doesn't matter. He can play multiple fronts, 5 technique, 3 technique, 1 technique. He is a game wrecker, and more important so in the future, he has the potential to be an every down game wrecker. I think this is a guy that's still putting it together. But in terms of the athletic foundation in the clay, you look at his track and field background and the shot and the disc, there is a lot of lower body explosiveness there, and you see that translate to the game tape. So a lot to love with David Hicks. I think he's just scratching the surface of what he's going to become, but somebody's going to get a really special player with him.
I call David Hicks, make it right. He's the defensive lineman that's going to always make the guy coaching him, make them right. Whether it's an odd front or a 4-down front, he has the ability to be a factor. Whether it's being able to find, he's the matchup guy. He's the guy that you're going to be able to find the weakest link and line him up. He has tremendous body quickness. Again, like Coop said, he's playing with tremendous lower half power. Once the upper body matches the lower body, you're talking about having a serious problem on your hands. I love his quickness. I love his agility. I love how he's able to really chase the pocket and really always playing on the opposite side of the ball in terms of in the offense's backfield. So he's a guy that always is going to wreak havoc. And I think his upside of potential as he continues to develop in the weight room and continuously to get stronger is only going to be beautiful wherever he chooses to go.
The gentle giant, as I like to call him. Great kid, really good player. But I'm going to tell you right now, gentlemen, I could have done that job because I could have just looked at his jacked up pops and told you he's a 5-star here pretty soon. Now, what I want to do is talk about Notre Dame because they're doing some special things on the recruiting trail. And it sounds like, Coop, they're getting a 5-star here pretty soon within this update.
Yeah, we talked a lot about Nicholas Harbor and his potential. Keon Keely is a guy that's ready-made for the next level, and he can beat you a multitude of ways just watching him. 6'5", 240 pounds plus. Off the edge, you can put him in a 2-point, you can put him in a 3-point, and that gives Marcus Freeman, first-year head coach at Notre Dame, a lot of versatility with Keon Keely off the edge, but 16.5 sacks for Keon Keely last year, and he really made his mark on a national televised game against Arch Manning, the #1 player, just really wreaking havoc for him, had an INT in that game, but he is smooth, he is long, And then in terms of the speed to power, he can play right through you as well. So a lot to like with Keon Keely. I think he is the jewel of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish football class.
The beautiful thing that the Fighting Irish are getting Keon Keely, they're getting a guy with tremendous size and length that plays with a sense of urgency, a consistent motor, a guy that makes a lot of plays from the backside. That shows that he is willing to play from a pursuit angle, from a standpoint of playing with his hair on fire. As he continues to refine his techniques, that's when the natural ability matched with the technique is really going to skyrocket his game. But again, the thing that touched on the most that I want to talk about, his motor, his effort, his sense of urgency, those are the things that 6'6", 245 pounds plus right now, those are things that are dynamic and very encouraging for those in South Bend.
So if you're a skyscraper, you got to watch out for three things: Godzilla, King Kong, and this big old dude who is a pretty darn good football player too. He's now a 5-star in the new top 247.
Francis Malagoa now committed to the Miami Hurricanes and Mario Cristobal. That is a really good home for him. A lot of offensive line centric people in that building. Alex Mirabal, the offensive line coach as well. But this is a guy who played opposite of top 24/7 offensive lineman Tyler Booker, who ended up signing with Alabama in the Crimson Tide last season. But since he transferred to IMG Academy down there in Florida, he has been a guy that has certainly reaped the benefits of that type of program. I think for him, he has developed. All the clay is there athletically. He moves extremely well. He is an easy mover, very light feet, good body quickness. And when he gets his hands on you, it's over. So I don't think the learning curve with Francis Malagoa at the next level is as steep as we think it is. And I think this is a guy that can have an impact in Miami sooner rather than later.
The thing that's unique about Francis Malagoa is when he once initially got to IMG, he wanted to be a defensive lineman. He wanted to be on the opposite side of the big uglies. But once he decided and figured out and bought into being on the offensive side of the ball, that's when he really took his game to the next level. Again, you're finding a guy with this size and athleticism, and now you're putting him in the trenches, at that tackle position. You're talking about 6'5", 330, athletic, broad-built guy who's a road grader in the run game. And then again, light on his feet. And he's still developing from a technique standpoint. And the beautiful thing about him, because he's so new to football, for example, he does not have a lot of bad things that he has to correct with his game. Everything he's learning is going to be new and organic. And so his upside and trajectory to be able to reach his peak potential should not be that long at all. He should be able to hit that fast. And like Coop said, I would not be shocked to see him being an early starter down in Coral Gables.
Gentlemen, it's a loaded quarterback class, but it felt like only a matter of time for this signal caller because a lot of good things coming from his way. Coop, why is he now a minted 5-star?
Well, you look at the body of work, Dante Moore, 30-8 as a starter at Martin Luther King in Detroit, completed over 72% of his passes last season. You look at the stat sheet, it's immaculate, 40 touchdowns, only 3 INTs. He knows how to take care of the football. And then in terms of the live exposure that our team has had with him this offseason, he's been one of the best guys around. So I think the steady presence with a guy like Dante Moore, we've seen in the intangibles as well. This is a guy that's wired the right way, certainly a high floor, but I think we've been a little bit surprised with the developmental upside and how much room he has to grow as a passer at the next level.
With Dante Moore, I had an opportunity to see him at the OT 7-on event and then also at the Elite 11. The one question I had coming in after seeing him on film was his arm strength. Well, he checked that box every time that I saw him. Tremendous arm strength, was able to make the throws with zip. But also the beautiful thing about it was he understood when he needed to change speeds on the ball. He also did an excellent job of understanding what defense was doing for him in terms of trying to stop him in the 7-on-7 setting, understanding what was the hot route, getting the ball out quick, knowing when to take chances. He's a guy that's so unique from the standpoint, from a quarterback standpoint, from the neck up. You can't speed him up. He plays with poise, composure, but he also has all the tools. Again, nice arm strength. He also has the ability to throw off platform. He has the ability to zip it into tight windows. And then he has the comfort level to know this, that he's still developing from a physical standpoint. He's one of the youngest quarterbacks in the class. So you see the physical upside is still there. But I think when you look at the production in terms of his win record, the plays that he's made in terms of the championship setting, then you get to see him live compared to the best of the best. He was a guy who did not flinch. He stood up and he rose to the occasion every time that we saw him.
Guys, we talk so much about day one starters at the collegiate level, but if you told me this guy might be a day one starter for an NFL team, I might believe you. And now he's a 5-star within this top 247 coup.
I wouldn't be surprised. Kaden Proctor here, a recent commit to Kirk Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes. So much to like about him, a 6'7", 330-pound frame. And this is going to be a guy that's certainly going to benefit from being in Iowa's strength conditioning and nutrition program as well. So I love the athleticism with Kaden Proctor. Every time we've seen him, he continues to impress. A two-way football player, makes just as much as an impact on the defensive side of the ball as he does on offense. And he's quick twitch, explosive. But the other thing about him that I certainly love, he is powerful and he is nasty. He knows how to finish. Kind of reminds me of a guy who's already an all-pro in the league that went to Iowa, left tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tristan Wirfs.
I think when you talk about Kaden Proctor, having played in that conference and then also having been a staff member in that conference, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Now you have a tremendous prospect from the state that plays in the trenches, which the Iowa Hawkeyes are known for. He's nasty, he's aggressive, he's big, he's athletic. And the other thing about him is he plays with bad intentions on a consistent level. He's able to bend at 6'6", 330 pounds. That's the other part. So he's constantly playing with a flat back. When you get that kind of guy playing with a flat back and there's no lift where you can get underneath his pass and really knock him off, he plays with a tremendous punch and athleticism. And I think when you see the long-term projection, I know Coop just talked about a guy from Iowa that plays in Tampa, but I think he's even a little bit nastier to him. I see a young Trent Williams when I watch Kaden Proctor.
Wow, that's a big statement right there for my guy, Chris Singletary. All right, gentlemen, look, this new set of 5 stars now associates with a pretty familiar last name out in the state of California, Coop. Why did he earn them?
Mateo Uaongalele. I hope I got that right. But if I didn't get that right, he also goes by another name, Young Concrete. He's got the best nickname in the game by far. Love this kid. Listen, he hadn't even really played defense all that long as a guy is a two-way player at St. John Bosco. And he is a smooth, natural athlete, one of the best athletes you'll see in this entire cycle. So once he is committed full-time to the defensive side of the football, I think this is a guy that is really going to rise up the board at the next level, going to develop, and is going to turn a lot of heads in the process.
You're talking probably about maybe the best elite jumbo athlete in the country. I'm talking about excellent change of direction, excellent agility, excellent ability to burst off the ball. You're talking about the two-way snaps, him playing some tight end, him playing some wide out. Now with him focusing solely on being that defensive player, that edge rusher, and then really working on the skill sets. He has excellent length. So now you see the upside and the production. When you see Young Concrete and being able to take the build that he has and being able to be long-term, I'm saying a guy that could be between 6'5", 6'6", 265 to 275, but still have the athleticism to stay on the edge and really push the pocket. This is a young man that has bad intentions, has a lot of upside, has a lot of growth still left in his game, but all those arrows are trending up in the right direction.
And that is your new set of 5 stars in the brand new top 247. But these two are your 5-star recruiting analysts. Check them out on Twitter. And you at home, stay tuned right here because we're going to have continued breakdowns of the new top 247 player rankings all day long here on the brand new 247 Sports YouTube channel. Now, like, share, subscribe, continue to get this thing out there, and stay tuned for more on this updated set of player rankings. Gentlemen, it's always fun. Thanks a ton for joining me.